This is your WWE Monday Night Raw review and analysis. Monday Night Raw this week emanated from Greenville, South Carolina, in the Bonds Kills Wellness Arena for yet another live 3-hour episode on the USA Network. So, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into the good, the bad, and the downright ugly of this week's show. First, let's start off with the good. Yes, the major talking point from last night, Seth Rollins has finally aligned with AOP, the Authors of Pain. Now, this was the narrative thread that they were telling throughout the show. I always prefer shows, regardless of what it is, on Raw, SmackDown, whatever, when they have a narrative that goes throughout the show. You had it all the time back in the Attitude Era and even in the Ruthless Aggression Era, where there was a story that they were telling from the opening segment to the main event segment. It was always something throughout the show. If it was, say, Steve Austin, he'd appear in the opening segment. He'd be in segments throughout the show, backstage. They're telling a story throughout the show. Isn't that what any good TV show is meant to do? Regardless of professional wrestling, that's what a good TV show is meant to do. Tell a story throughout the show. A lot of times in the modern day WWE shows, it's just segment, then segment, then segment, then segment. There's no story. So to have this story that they were telling throughout the show of Kevin Owens searching for the Authors of Pain was a nice change of pace. I enjoyed it. So to briefly describe what happened, Seth Rollins interrupted the post-match respect between the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders. We'll go into that in a bit. Rollins said, you can stay out here if you want. I've got something to say. I've got to say it, but you can stay out here for support if you want. Obviously, they left, because who doesn't like Seth Rollins in 2019? I know I don't anymore. He calls out the Authors of Pain to fight. He says, come out here, fight. But instead, Kevin Owens comes out and said, the Authors of Pain aren't coming out because they're not here. You would have found them. Kevin Owens was walking around Raw with Rey Mysterio's best friend, a lead pipe. If that's your best friend, Rey, I think you need to find some friends. You've been in the business a while. Come on. Anyway, Kevin Owens says that Seth Rollins and the Authors of Pain, they're in collusion, and tonight they'll once again attack Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is a little bit psychic because he pretty much called that one, didn't he? But regardless, Seth Rollins says he's got nothing to do with AOP, which, is the biggest bullshit line, nearly to the equivalent of when he said he's better than Will Ospreay because he has a better bank account. Anyway, Seth Rollins leaves Kevin Owens high and dry, and after Kevin Owens threatens him, says, if I can't fight AOP, I'll fight you. So Seth Rollins backs off like a chicken shit heel. But once again, Rollins says, I have nothing to do with AOP. But whilst Owens is waiting in the ring, AOP appear on the screen. They speak Punjabi and Albanian, and that's it. So throughout the show, like I said, Kevin Owens continues to look for AOP. And when he finds their van, they turn up in every week, that mysterious van. Kevin Owens goes full Bill Goldberg and smashes the hell out of it without nearly cutting his arm off like Goldberg did on WCW back in the day. But finally, after smashing the shit out of it with his lead pipe, he manages to open it at the back door. And there's someone sitting in the back of the truck. You don't see them, you just see the back of them. But it's not AOP because there's only one man. And out of nowhere, AOP comes and attacks Kevin Owens. I can't believe, I'm assuming he doesn't have concussion, but I can't believe it because AOP swung the door of this truck into Kevin Owens' head so hard, it looked absolutely brutal. Fantastic spot there. Then it's revealed in a nice dramatic professional wrestling way that Seth Rollins is sitting in the truck. Yes, Seth Rollins has fully turned to the dark side. He's gone full Anakin Skywalker. He says to Kevin Owens, it's come to this, I'm sorry, and then curb stomps Kevin Owens on the concrete. Now, despite it being ever so obvious that Seth Rollins was AOP leader the whole time, this didn't change how well done this segment was. Why Rollins is sat in the back of a dark van is beside me, but less suspension to disbelief, let's leave that there. But it was a fun segment. The door spot, like I said, was brutal. And they finally gave us full heel Seth Rollins. And people can question, does Seth Rollins need a heater? Does he need to have the backup in the AOP? Well, if he's going to play a chicken shit heel, he's going to need backup. Remember Seth Rollins in his first heel run, he had J&J security, which ironically was the worst security ever, considering they were like 5'2" and got the shit kicked out of them all the time. But that's the point of Seth Rollins. When he's a chicken shit heel, he is at his best. This has my interest. And they told a story, like I said, throughout the show. There was a narrative thread that brought the show, and it worked. And this is why I really enjoyed this, is, like I said, everyone knew Everyone knew Seth Rollins has been heel for a couple of weeks now. AOP hasn't been attacking him. They've been purposely not been attacking him. But Seth Rollins kept saying, I have nothing to do with AOP. I have nothing to AOP. And you knew he did. You knew the turn was coming. You knew this was happening. As soon as you saw the person in the back of the truck, you went, this is probably Seth Rollins. But by saying, I have nothing to do with AOP, I have nothing to do with AOP, there's that little bit of doubt in the back of your mind. I know it was in the back of mine, and I knew this was coming. But it's in the back of your mind, and that's what made it so good. So after this, Seth Rollins comes out in the next segment, and he cuts an absolutely fantastic promo. He says he did have nothing to do with AOP. He was telling the truth. But Kevin Owens and the people made this happen. Now, that's probably bullshit, isn't it? But, it's a fun line. It's a fun line. He's still trying to be holier than thou, high and mighty Seth Rollins, which is what he's been doing all 2019, which has been ruffling a lot of feathers. He says, what do the people want? He says the people's negativity towards him has become a self-fulfilling prophecy. The people made me into this bad person. And he said he's finally aligned himself with the AOP. This was excellent. This is the best promo that Seth Rollins has done all year by a million miles. And do you know why? Because he meant every single word of it. This wasn't the scripted bullshit. This is the Vince McMahon-isms. This will get you over, pal. Scripted garbage. Rollins meant it. What do the fans want? He did slay the beast. This was meant to be his crowning moment when he slayed Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania and then again at SummerSlam. But the crowd didn't buy him. They didn't like this holier-than-thou character. It's 2019. I don't know how many times WWE will try to do this, but the holier-than-thou character will never get over anymore. This isn't the 1980s. The crowd didn't like this character. They didn't like his social media persona. So I guess the crowd truly did turn Seth Rollins to the dark side. And it's fantastic. It was a great beatdown segment and a great promo by Seth Rollins. And a shot in the arm for a character that, quite frankly, was on life support. This gets a thumbs up. Another good spot in Raw last night was kind of in telling this AOP and Seth Rollins story was Kevin Owens just slapping the shit out of Mojo Rawley. Now, this would lead to a segment which I thought deserved to be in the ugly category, but we'll get onto that later. But whilst Kevin Owens was looking for the AOP backstage, he walks up to Mojo Rawley, who just points in every different direction and laughs. He says, oh, maybe they went that way. No, actually, maybe they went that way. And he goes, maybe they went that way, and points in both directions. And at this point, I was thinking this segment is going straight in the ugly category because, again, it's just scripted hot garbage. And I was still very wound up from the Rusev Lana divorce segment at this point, which, I mean, don't get me started, we'll go on to it in a minute. But then Owens just slapped, and I mean slapped, the absolute shit out of Mojo Rawley, and I loved it. I mean, he was just asking. Have you seen AOP? Mojo didn't need to be a dick about it. Deserved the slap. Good segment. Kevin Owens is just TV gold, isn't he? Thumbs up. It's been confirmed that this Sunday at Tables, Ladders and Chairs, we will see Buddy Murphy face off against Alistair Black. Now, who is excited for this match? I certainly am. Could have done with being announced about 2 or 3 weeks earlier, but apparently Vince McMahon feels that pay-per-views don't need any build anymore. It's all about network subscribers, and they sign up the day of or the day before the event, so they don't care about the show. Of course they do, Vince. Of course they do. I mean, it's ridiculous. But anyway, let's focus on the match, focus on the good. First, in the night, Alistair Black went against Akira Tozawa. There was a spot in this match where Akira Tozawa went for a suicide dive, and Alistair Black countered it in mid-air into a jumping knee and just about killed poor Akira. Awesome spot. Black Mass for the victory. Alistair Black's really excellent when he's not sitting in the dark room telling people to fight him. When you actually put him in the ring, guess what? Magic happens. He's former NXT champion after all. Like I said, they then announced that he'll be facing Buddy Murphy Sunday at TLC. I mean, give them 15 minutes and they'll steal the show. Honestly, they will. They will actually steal the show. It'll be a fantastic match, really enjoyable. But there's this part of my brain, that bad part of your brain, where it's eating at me that why do I feel that the match is going to end up on the kickoff show and go 5 minutes and it's going to be wasted. Instead, we'll have, because we need to have that King Corbin pre-match promo that he'll probably have, because that's so overpower. But this could be special. And follow up with Alistair Black's victory. Buddy Murphy defeated Zack Ryder. A nothing match, but it doesn't matter. Continues to build to Sunday's match. I'm excited for this one. Thumbs up. Yes, we got a promo last night, or a vignette, whatever you want to call it, that Morgan, yes, Liv Morgan, you remember her? She is alive. Yes, apparently she is alive and coming soon to Monday Night Raw. She was drafted to Raw back in the draft a couple of months ago. I think like 5 months ago, she had her last TV appearance on SmackDown. She lost to Charlotte Flair, went crazy and said, look, next time I return, you're going to see a different Liv Morgan. And she just hasn't returned. One of those WWE isms where they think of something and they don't follow through. Maybe she's been coming soon for this last 5 months. Regardless, this falls into the good because Liv Morgan deserves to be on TV. You know, WWE has the biggest roster they've ever had. Why don't you feature more people on them? This is going into the ugly category in a second, but you've got talent like Liv Morgan who can work and the fans use her. Now, the vignette says that it's Liv Morgan makeover, so I guess this does feature into you'll see a different Liv Morgan when I return. People have speculated this could be another Emelina or whatever it was a few years ago when there was all those vignettes for Emma returning, wasn't there, to WWE TV, and it went on and on and on and on. And then she basically came out and walked back in the locker room and that was it because they'd given up on the idea or she wasn't happy with the idea or something of that effect. Either way, I'm interested. I'm happy that she's going to be used on TV again. So this gets a thumbs up from me. The makeover itself, she's turned into a very dark figure, hasn't she, on social media? Her profile picture is literally black. There was always the rumours about her being Sister Abigail, being part of the Firefly Funhouse. I guess that's gone away now. We can finally put that rumour to bed. But is this makeover going to be a different Liv Morgan, or is WWE just throwing her a bone because maybe she'll ask for a release and get one like we've seen recently? Either way, Liv Morgan being on TV, thumbs up. Next, the Viking Raiders put their Raw Tag Team Championships on the line against the Street Profits. They started this by issuing an open challenge. Anyone wants to come out and face them for the Raw Tag Team Championships, which was answered by the Street Profits. This was a quick but fun match. Like many of my relationships, quick but fun. Two great tag teams. The Street Profits really did a great job of starting off hot and fast, putting over how dominant the Viking Raiders are and that you need to catch them off guard to beat them, which continues to get the Viking Raiders over as this dominant champions. But the result also doesn't hurt the Street Profits, as they nearly had the Viking Raiders beat on several occasions. If you go through the match, there were several near falls that had to be broken up by either Erick or Ivar. It was slightly frustrating that this was a cold match with no build. It was just an open challenge for the titles that came out of nowhere. But if this is a glimpse into a series of matches somewhere down the line, then I'm game for that. It was a good match. And the Viking Raiders are turning into this team that just every single week produces great match, great match, great match. I put on social media last night that they actually slightly remind me of the Legion of Doom. Just the way that it's this big, dominant tag team. I guess the problem is eventually, like, how do you beat them? You can only be dominant for so long, right? And the frustrating part of it is that loss that they had to the OC at Crown Jewel just seems it was just there for no reason. Maybe they just didn't want them to be unbeaten. I don't know. They haven't capitalised on it with the OC. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson haven't had a Raw Tag Team Championship anytime soon, have they? It's just dumb. But good match. Thumbs up. Next, Andrade versus Humberto Carrillo. This was a good match. This was clunky at parts, but overall I thought it was enjoyable. High tempo action. They had the crowd into it at the end. They had the Selena Vega bump at the end of the match, which had Andrade and Selena arguing post-match. So perhaps, they'll no longer be partnered with a breakup in the future. I, wouldn't want to see them split up, but maybe WWE has planned to go in a different direction. Psst, Selena. I think Andrade has a thing for Charlotte Flair, though, so, pass it on. However, despite the reports that we heard a few weeks ago, or we've seen in the dirt sheets, that Vince McMahon isn't interested in Humberto Carrillo anymore. He's not over enough. Vince McMahon doesn't like him. It's over. It would actually appear that old Vinnie Mac isn't giving up on Humberto Dimples Carrillo just yet. I mean, Humberto does have the talent to succeed, but this wasn't his best standout match, I would say. It also did feature... They always go on about the Aztec press. Humberto Carrillo's amazing Aztec press. Amazing. He kind of botched it. He didn't hit... As they would say on commentary, he didn't get all of it, which is always, commentator for code for cover this up. He just botched the fuck out of it. I think the issue with Humberto getting over in the future, because he doesn't really get the reaction from the crowd that I guess WWE would like. To be honest, it's hard to get a reaction from any WWE crowd nowadays that isn't NXT, because those crowds on Raw and SmackDown are deader than a wet fart in church. Oh, honestly, you can't get, even some of the biggest talents can't get a reaction out of that crowd. So I wouldn't be too harsh on Humberto getting a big reaction from the crowd. I think the issue with him getting over is that his promos just aren't there. Now, I know English is probably his second language, but look at any other talent. If you can't cut promo, then Vince McMahon just isn't interested, unless you get a mouthpiece. You look at the likes of Asuka and Shinsuke Nakamura, where English is their second language. They tried to have them cut promos. I think Shinsuke and Asuka can cut absolutely fine promos in English, but Vince McMahon, he's not there with it. He doesn't like it. So they have mouthpieces now. Well, Shinsuke does in Sami Zayn, which we'll touch on in a second. Asuka cuts her promos the majority of the time in Japanese, or for a while she had Paige as a mouthpiece, because Vince McMahon doesn't like if a talent's got bad English. Now, it shouldn't matter in any other combat sport where they're not a native English speaker. They just throw subtitles up there and it works fine. I don't think everyone's that stupid where they can't read, or if they can't understand, they can't understand. Who cares? These are good talent. They need to be used properly. So I think that's the issue of Humberto getting over. But like I said, this match, I enjoyed it. Maybe we are heading towards a Selena and Andrade split in the future. And I was thinking after this match, because it felt like Selena came off as a babyface in this one. Because it wasn't her fault. She got involved. She gets hit by Andrade off the apron. And then Andrade, after the match, has a go at her. So Selena did come off more like the babyface in this one. So it made me think, who really needs the mouthpiece more here? Andrade or Humberto? You would probably say, well, I would say, obviously, because my criticism just towards him, probably Humberto needs the mouthpiece more. So Selena Vega could certainly be a useful asset for Humberto when it comes to his promos. But historically, having a female manager that talks for you would get you heat, I would have thought. Well, historically in professional wrestling, it always has. I felt like Andrade I think he could survive without Selena Vega. I think he could. So I don't think he'll suffer if they do part ways. I would advise against it. I think as a package they're fantastic, but I don't think he would suffer. I don't think he's going to just end up getting released because he can't cut a promo or anything like that. Perhaps he'll give Andrade a substantial storyline, finally for him to sink his teeth into. But the match alone, I thought it was a pretty good match. Thumbs up. Next we had Becky Lynch, the Raw Women's Champion, going up against the Women's Tag Team Champions of the Kabuki Warriors in another 2-on-1 handicap match. After last week, the Kabuki Warriors faced Charlotte Flair in a 2-on-1 handicap match, much the same. This was a good match. I don't think it was as good as Charlotte's match last week. I thought that was fantastic with the Kabuki Warriors. But they just can't have Becky Lynch lose, can they? God damn, she's the man. She's the Raw Women's Champion. Look, Charlotte Flair lost last week. Why couldn't Becky Lynch this week? Just let Becky Lynch take the fall to the Tag Team Champions. They're the Tag Team Champions, for God's sake. They should be beating anyone in a 2-on-1 handicap match. I mean, come on. But there was a nice post-match bump here with Kairi Sane hitting the insane elbow through Becky Lynch through a table from the top rope to the outside. Obviously, it got announced later on, but they're going towards a Becky and Charlotte versus the Kabuki Warriors match, which I think Becky and Charlotte will win. They're going on about, you want to be Becky 2 bouts again, blah, blah, blah. But this is making the Women's Tag Team Champions feel like something worth fighting for. And the Kabuki Warriors are the best Women's Tag Team Champions by far that we've had so far. Not that the bar is really high, but since the Tag Team titles debuted earlier this year, they've just failed to mean anything. And the tag teams have been so underutilized and underfeatured. It's been an absolute crime. It really has. Considering the trashy television that's put out every week, you would have thought they could have used this to have something a little bit different. So there's a nice change of pace, and not only furthers the Becky and Charlotte storyline, but also continues to build up the Kabuki Warriors. But again, why couldn't Becky just do the job? Charlotte Flair did the job last week. Surely the story would be to have Charlotte lose on her own, then Becky loses on her own, and then the story is, wow, the only way we can beat them is together. They team up, and then they defeat them. I don't know. Not well. You lost. I didn't lose actually. Technically, I won by DQ. So, but fuck it. Let's team up anyway. That's kind of the story they're going with there. After the match, Charlotte Flair goes in to see Becky Lynch in the trainer's room, and she rubs her face in it. But as she leaves, she gets attacked by the Kabuki Warriors herself backstage. Later on, the Kabuki Warriors would challenge Flair and Lynch to challenge them for the tag titles at TLC. And then later on, Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair up the ante by saying, let's have a TLC match. I don't know why. I never get this. Why on earth would a champion challenge someone to challenge them for their title? Sure, especially if you're a heel champion. If you're a face champion, I get it. You just look stupid when you do it. But, tough champion, the fighting champion. But if you're a heel, you don't want anyone facing you. You don't want any potential of you losing the tag team titles, right? Surely that's just logic. But either way, TLC tag team match Sunday should be fun. And the match itself was good. I can't criticise the match at all. Like I said, wasn't as good as Charlotte's match the previous week. But I think Charlotte's probably better in ring than Becky anyway. But this was fun. The crowd was into it. I was into it. Thumbs up. Finally, the last bit of good on this show. Erick Rowan versus a jobber. This was good. Continues the Erick Rowan What's in the Cage mystery, which I speculated on a few weeks ago. You can go back on YouTube and see what we think might be in that cage. We questioned at the time if it was Luke Harper's signed release. Well, it isn't, because Luke Harper's gone. No more Bludgeon Brothers reunions in the future for them two. Anyway, in the match, the jobber, I didn't pick up his name. I'm sorry if you're out there listening to this. You're probably not. Jobber picked up the mystery cage. He ran through the crowd. He dropped it on the ramp. Then he asked the ref to count Rowan out because he's gone after the cage, because obviously, heaven forbid someone touches his cage, but it gets to a 7 count before Rowan gets back in. Rowan then hit about 1 million iron claws to the point the ref called the match off. And even as a shoot, you should probably call this match off because the guy looked dead by about the 5th one. But that opening spot was fun. The crowd was into it, and they do this every week now, don't they? They've done it the last few weeks of, he brings the cage out, everyone's like, what's in the cage? What's in the cage? And regardless of who the opponent is, they try and look at the cage, try and take the cage, just building the anticipation of what's actually in the cage. So the opening spot, that was fun. But what is in the cage? What is in the cage? Who knows what's in the cage? I'm still going to go with it's his former Wyatt family mask, the sort of sheep mask, but he's talking to it as if it's, an actual thing or something to look after. So maybe, who knows what it is? Maybe it's Jim Cornette's rap, but which is actually Mankind's rap. A little tidbit there. But I enjoyed this. I'm enjoying this What's in the Cage storyline. It's, it's a bit of fun, isn't it? So, thumbs up. Right, let's move on to the bad. Boo! First up, Drew McIntyre versus Matt Hardy. Now, the roller coaster and hope crusher that is Matt Hardy's WWE career continues. Hardy returned recently, faced off against Buddy Murphy on Raw, losing the match, which kind of bummed me out myself, and I think social media too. Well, this week on Raw was no different. Matt Hardy got in some offense, but this was a quick and dominant victory for McIntyre in a matter of minutes, with Hardy once again being squashed. So yes, it would appear that Matt Hardy is doing the jobs to WWE talent they want to get over on his way out of the company. Matt Hardy's contract expires in about 3 months' time. He's still yet to re-sign. It's looking less and less likely with these appearances on Raw that he will re-sign. But this is the same guy that was one of the hottest things going in pro wrestling 2 or 3 years ago? There was nobody more over than Matt Hardy and the Broken Hardys. The WWE's woken version of the character left a lot to be desired for me, but there was still hope, right? He could come back, he could try again, or under Paul Heyman, the Paul Heyman guidance, the creative genius that is Paul Heyman, maybe he could get the best out of Matt Hardy and the broken character on WWE TV. Well, I hate to break it to you, the answer would apparently be no. As soon as his opponent, Drew McIntyre's music hit, everyone knew the score here. Matt Hardy ain't beating Drew McIntyre anytime soon. And, for the record, nor should he be. Drew has all the potential to be a huge star and he needs to be booked strong. But as I said, Matt Hardy's WWE contract expires in 3 months' time. And it would appear, and, Matt Hardy has said it a few times, that he's been very vocal that he still feels that he has more gas left in the tank. The WWE higher-ups would appear to disagree. They tried him out as a producer, but he still feels that he can go in the ring. I remember a similar situation with Goldust. they tried to move him into a producer role, and he did it for a while, but he was like, no, I can still go. And I mean, look at Dustin Rhodes now in AEW. I think he's doing some of his best work ever. So are his best days behind him in the ring? Absolutely. The man is 45 years old, beaten up to shit. Look at those TLC matches. But Matt Hardy can be an entertaining promo character. Maybe less of a wrestler, but a character that a bland and dull Raw show desperately needs. His talent has been wasted. I don't think that Matt Hardy will re-sign with the WWE, and realistically, why would he? I hope, and I don't want to be the guy who says, he goes to AEW, any WWE style release gets to go to AEW, blah, blah, blah. I don't think they're going to be like a TNA, but I hope he does go somewhere like an AEW, and I hope he gets given carte blanche to do exactly what he wants with his character and his promos and all that wacky stuff that can come out of the broken head of Matt Hardy, and maybe not go for a broken character or a working character. That's very 2016, as Chris Jericho would say. Maybe Matt Hardy, and he said this on a few occasions, he's got more characters in his head. So maybe Matt Hardy will go to an AEW, reinvent himself one more time and prove the doubters wrong. He's got one more run in him, I think. But to see his WWE career end this way, it was, it's sad, which is why it falls into the bad category. So, thumbs down. The Monday after the weekend update with the Street Profits. Yes, we saw a new segment here with the Street Profits, a bit of a rip-off from SNL. Apparently, the Street Profits are still in that sort of narrator character at the moment, but now they're doing it in the version of an SNL sketch. This was awful, okay? It barely got into the bad category and not the ugly one, just because the ugly category this week was so ugly. Like, there's got to be some form of continuity here. This was awful. This was bad WWE comedy, which never goes down well. There was an awful laughter track, if you could even call it in that. It just didn't work. I mean, I'm all for giving the Street Profits mic time and promo time to get them over. You don't need to rip off SNL, though. Just let them be themselves. Not narrating the show, not a rip-off version of Colin Jost or whatever his name is. Just let them be themselves. They don't need a gimmick on top of being the Street Profits. They're already over the top. They already cut wacky promos. I know Seth Meyers with A Closer Look and Stephen Colbert gets millions of views on YouTube with their monologues, but you're going to have to step up your writing game significantly there to challenge with that level of quality. And maybe if your material, WWE, was any good, you wouldn't actually need a laughter track. You've got this thing where you've actually got thousands of people in the arena. Maybe you can make them actually laugh, maybe. That there's no need for a laughter track. I mean, fuck it. Just replace the laugh with Vince McMahon cackling that people apparently can hear in Gorilla during the King Corbin segments. Now that, as a laughter track, that would be funny. The Monday, I can't even say it. The Monday after the weekend update, yeah, not so much. Not funny from me. Thumbs down. Finally, the United States Championship match between Rey Mysterio, the champion, against AJ Styles. Now, people are going to question, well, this was a great match. Why is this going in the bad category? Well, the match itself, no complaints. The match was great. Great back and forth action, fun moves from both men. But then we got to the finish. Now, we've seen AJ Styles do this move, or this spot, a million times, or I have anyway, where his opponent goes for a Frankensteiner, he catches him, Styles clash from the second rope. That's what the spot is. Didn't work out like it this time, basically. They sort of just foul to the mat after Styles sort of half caught Mysterio, but didn't catch him properly. It looked very, very awkward. Styles recovered, hit up the powerbomb, and then a Styles clash. In comes Randy Orton, doesn't do anything, just winks at AJ Styles and leaves. Mysterio rolls him up for the 3. That was the end of the match. You would think, well, it was a botch. Is that enough for them to go in a bad category? Yes, because before Mysterio even got the pin, the Raw graphic to signal the end of the show appeared in the bottom right-hand corner, because obviously they need to get off the air at 11. I don't know what was coming on the USA Network at 11, but they need to get off the air at 11 p.m. regardless. So before the finish even happens, the show is going off the air. So you know the finish is coming, even though Mysterio's just been hit with a Styles clash. It was just a cluster. They ran out of time. because they botched the finish that badly, which rushed the pinfall because you could see it coming because the graphic was there. The botch itself was just ugly, and it turned the finish into a complete cluster with the added time constraints. A fine match, but everyone is going to remember the botch finish from this one, so it gets a thumbs down from me, unfortunately. Finally, let's get on to the ugly. Let's get this shit out of the way. The Lana and Rusev divorce segment. Oh, wow, this was ugly. So Lana and Rusev make their divorce official. Lana signs, but Rusev says he won't sign unless he gets a match with her sexy boyfriend, Bobby Lashley, because pro wrestling, I don't think that actually happens in divorce court, where they say, is the husband going to sign? He says, absolutely, I just want to have a fight with their other new better half. Pro wrestling though, right? Lashley then comes out, says once the divorce is finalised, he wants to marry Lana. Rusev puts Lashley through a table to end the segment. Honestly, I don't know where to begin with this one. This was so ugly that even the ugly duckling wouldn't want to be seen with it. This was hideous. Okay? Now, there were Rusev Day chants from the crowd. I don't know why. Maybe they just liked the chant, because they certainly couldn't have liked this segment. Lana said that she waived the distance/restraining order for some reason. Maybe just because it was fucking dumb, because it is. Rusev, at a little high point, if you could call it one in this godforsaken segment, was wearing a frowning Donald Duck t-shirt with a suit. So as the tires go, I mean, that's different. But the thing I was thinking during this, also alongside how bad it was, this is the first hour of your show, which, look at the ratings every single week. This is the most watched hour of the show. So therefore, the opening segment should be the most watched segment of your show. So you have the largest amount of potential viewers in your opening segment. What's your opening volley? What's the hook that will keep viewers tuned in for 3 hours? 3 hours, remember, that's a long time. So your opening segment is meant to hook them in for that 3 hours. Go, I've got to watch the rest of the show. I've got to watch the rest of the show. What are you going to start with? What are you going to use to hook them in? Oh, I know. Some D-list Jerry Springer bullshit that would have sucked in the Attitude Era. I mean, Lana's acting here, it was just painful. She was screaming and fake crying, and it was just infuriating. And not a good heat. People are going to go, oh, that's heat. She got heat from the crowd. No, that wasn't good heat. Okay, this was Baron Corbin heat. This was, I want to turn the TV off and throw it out the window where it can no longer hurt me anymore kind of heat. I mean, Jim Cornette is currently stirring in his grave. He's not even dead yet. This segment, though, this might send him over the edge. They were arguing, oh, I sign first. No, I should sign first. No, I want the puppy. It's my puppy. This is a professional wrestling program. Honestly, if you'd have tuned into this and it wasn't in a ring, you would probably think, oh, I thought Raw was meant to be on. Because this isn't... Oh, wait a minute. I mean, ridiculous. I mean, Vince Russo would think this was shit. And if you thought that WWE contract signings were overdone, and they were stupid, then imagine this on 1980s Hulk Hogan steroids, because it was awful, okay? It was that bad, that dumb, and that stupid. This isn't even worthy of a thumbs down, okay? This was awful. Finally, Sami Zayn appeared. Yes, Sami Zayn. I thought he was on SmackDown. So did I, okay? Throughout, as we touched on earlier, with Kevin Owens slapping the shit out of Mojo Rawley, which I enjoyed immensely. It was a great slap, and Mojo absolutely deserved it. Kevin Owens in the ring once more, calling out the AOP. But out comes Sami Zayn with Mojo Rawley. Yes, SmackDown's Sami Zayn. Now, he explains that due to him applying for a managerial license, he can now appear on Raw and SmackDown. Yes, the WWE draft was about 2 months ago, and the cracks are already beginning to show. The brand extension is once again dead. Now, don't get me wrong, I love me some Sami Zayn, but why can't we just have exclusive rosters? I mean, come on. Plus, Sami Zayn, I mean, let's forget about that bit anyway. Sami Zayn is one of the best workers on the WWE roster right now, and he's in a managerial role. I mean, Sami Zayn's a hell of a promo, but can't we just let him work? Have him cut the same promos, but maybe about himself, and have matches, like a professional wrestler would do. I mean, the WWE roster is the largest it's ever been, and you can't find time on TV for Liv Morgan. Well, they did tonight, but we don't know in the future. They can't find time for an EC3. They couldn't find time for a Luke Harper, who's just granted his release. You don't need people appearing on both shows. How about WWE? You just develop some stars that can actually carry both brands as separate entities. I mean, the ludicrousness of it all, you just had Survivor Series, which is about brand supremacy, and now you've got people appearing on both shows. So where's going to be the brand supremacy? It's just stupid. It's just stupid. This is the beginning of the end of the brand extension already. You'll call me dramatic. You'll say, no, it's not, no, it's not. But once they start blurring those lines, it's a matter of time. That's how it always works. That's how it's always worked when they've ever tried to do a brand extension. They blur the lines a couple of times and then they go, you know what, fuck it, it's not working. We'll have everyone appear on both shows. Both shows don't mean anything. Then the executives from the USA Network and Fox go, why can't we have him on this show? Because the excuse of, oh, they're exclusive to that brand doesn't work anymore. Because then now they've got the excuse of, well, Sami Zayn appears on both shows, so why can't Roman Reigns? It'll be that quick. Honestly, it will be that quick. So this is the beginning of the cracks forming. The dam will explode soon, and the water that is known as the brand extension will flood the WWE, and it is over. Okay, this is Wildcard Rule Volume 2. Trust me. Anyway, enough of my opinion. Let's get on to your opinions. Raw in 3 words. At the end of every Monday Night Raw, we send out a Twitter post on our official Twitter account at 365Wrestle, asking our followers to describe Raw in 3 words. Let's take a look and see what our followers thought of tonight's TLC Go Home episode of Raw. Alright, we got a lot of opinions from last night's episode, quite divisive opinions as well. Yusef K 843-13065, nice short name there, says Show of Legends. Don't really get that one. Let's move on. Go Home Heat 1 says pretty doggone good. To be honest, I would have to, agree with you there. I thought for the majority of the show it was good. There were some absolutely horrific elements of the show, as always with Raw. You have to treat Raw in the majority. A 3-hour show cannot be perfect every week, especially in WWE. So I thought, on the whole, it was a good show. So I would agree with you there. @_wildboycrazy says Monday Night Updates, obviously referring to the Street Profits there. I think the less said about that segment, the better. I was surprised to see some people actually, enjoyed that segment. Just maybe I just don't get it. Maybe as a UK viewer, I don't get the SNL element of it. I'm a huge fan of SNL, don't get me wrong. I love watching those great sketches. They're historical great sketches as well. I think Weekend Update's tremendous. And I love, like I said, Seth Meyers and Stephen Colbert, their monologues and their roundups of the news stories of the week. I think they're great, but this was not great. No. Faritude Spot, difficult one there. It says down, down, down. Obviously referring to what might be the ratings this week. They actually rose last week after the Thanksgiving ratings were down just across the board. But it'll be interesting to see where Raw's rating settles going into 2020. I think, to be honest with Raw's ratings, you look at them historically, year on year on year, they decrease. So going into 2020, I would agree with this tweet, down, down, down. Crendulous says A&R Security, awesome and raw. It's obviously referring to Seth Rollins aligning with AOP. Instead of the J&J Security, it's A&R Security for Akam and Razor. Hamboy7 says did not watch. I don't think you were the only one, my friend. Long Sean Silver says bad as usual. So Sean, not a fan of the show. Like I said, I think Raw nowadays is just so divisive because some bits are okay. You have some matches. Most of the matches, to be honest, on Raw aren't bad. It's just these awful creative segments that they have. So he wasn't a fan, bad as usual. JC Metz09 says Liv is back. She is indeed. What she will be returning like, we'll have to wait and see. But, I'm not holding out hope because WWE Creative historically is... WWE Creative is shit, not even historically. It just is shit. @WheelieMan01 says ratings drop again. Obviously, we don't know yet at the time of recording, but good guess. Mr. Shodo says no dog food. Thank God, no dog food. I mean, I haven't actually touched on this, have I? The dog food segment from SmackDown. What the fuck? Awful. awful. So, no dog food on this show. You're right. That's a positive. Maybe that should go in the good category. At Louis Stone 10 says totally unwatchable twaddle. He, like some of the others, was not a fan. I think the ugly segments, like I said, with Sami Zayn appearing, even though it's not a bad thing, Sami Zayn appearing, but the point of him appearing, and obviously that Lana and Rusev segment, it just gets worse and worse every week, doesn't it? So he wasn't a fan. And then finally, at GZE636 says lame AF. For those not technologically savvy, easy for me to say, that means lame as fuck. So he wasn't a fan either. But what did you think of the show? Let us know your thoughts on last night's episode in the comment section below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget, you can follow WrestleNews365 on all of our social media platforms on the screen right now. Twitter, that's at 365Wrestle. Facebook, at WrestleNews365. Instagram, at WrestleNews365. Storyfire, at WrestleNews365. You can also visit our website, WrestleNews365.com. That's WrestleNews365.com for all the very latest news, reviews, exclusive series, and much more. You can also support WrestleNews365 by purchasing our merchandise. Visit WN365.com. That's WN365.com for all of our merch and apparel. And if you do purchase an item just in time for the holidays, be sure to post it on social media so we can share it with all of our followers. We really, really, really appreciate all your support on our merchandise website. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. We really appreciate it, and we'll speak with you again very, very soon.